Today we're going to talk about a fragrance from the house of Mancera. Can you guess which one it is? There's a lot of heavy hitters from that house, but this one I haven't spoke about. So let's see if you can guess with your eyes closed, not looking at the title. Strap up. All right, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the late evening. Listen, boys, we've had a lot of great success with the channel. The lives have been going crazy. So if you have any questions from any episodes that you've seen or fragrances you're considering, make sure you tune in to the community page where we are always discussing my latest grabs, fragrance hauls, answering questions, as well as announcing when I'm going to be going live, which is where I do about an hour and a half episode. I typically only plan on running them for about a half hour, but they always end up running about an hour and a half because we get an insane amount of progressively more and more and more people wind up showing up, people from all over the world, and it's a great time. So make sure that you stay tuned, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you can get into all of that jazz. Today from the house of Mancera, we have Precious Oud. Unisex fragrance, and I have not put my nose to it. But shout outs to my man Gator at The Novice Nose. He sent me about 12 fragrances that we will be covering over the next couple of weeks. As you know, I'm releasing bi-weekly now, so twice a week. And a lot of the upcoming fragrances are courtesy of Novice Nose. I've always told people you should trade decants. If you have a 100 ml bottle of anything, you should call up your homie and say, hey, I'll give you a 5 ml. Let's swap fragrances. And you guys can just get your nose on so many things, because one of the most important things I talk about on this channel is sampling fragrances. And so why not, in the midst of your fragrance hauls and purchases of decants, save yourself some money and reach out to your bro. If he's a fragrance collector like you guys got tons of fragrances that you won't run the bottles through. You're going to have plenty of extra juice. You guys might as well share the love and get more educated on fragrance. So again, unisex fragrance from the house of Mancera. We have Precious Oud, and we're going to see what it's hitting for today. Let's get some initial thoughts. Right off the bat, super, I don't know if aromatic's the word, but it's in the air. Wow. Precious is a good description of this fragrance. When you hear the word precious oud, you kind of think of, okay, what type of oud am I going to get? Am I going to get fresh? Am I going to get animalic, funky, or super clean? And then with precious, you kind of think sparkling, sweet. At least that's what comes to my mind, especially being that it's a unisex fragrance. And that's what immediately I smell in the air. If there's any presence of oud, it's clean. It's got the tiniest, not funk factor, but as far as the oud's concerned, it's got slight mysterious oud vibes to it without the funk. It's still fairly clean, maybe just the tiniest bit animalic. I smell like this mysterious, woody, sweet fragrance that's like perfectly unisex. There's qualities about this that I feel if a woman's wearing it, it will turn into something else. If a man's wearing it, it will turn into something else. Woody, sweet, slightly animalic, masculine, vanilla, powdery, but not too powdery, maybe just like less than half powder. Let's go ahead and turn to the window here. And I want to say this is a very sweet fragrance, but in terms of sweetness on a scale, this is probably 7 out of 10. It's pungent, it's there, but it's not overbearing, and it's very delightful on the nose. Why is my webcam not on? There we go. Okay, perfect. And there we go. Put the frame on for you guys. So glad I have my OBS screen on the side and I can put myself in check when stuff's going awry. But anyways, Precious Oud here. On the top, we have Laotian Oud. Never smelled that before, but I like it. And I do get oud. It's got this mysterious, slight animalic touch to it. Maybe like 20%. It's there, but it's not intrusive. It's not overbearing. It's not abrasive. It's not interrupting the fragrance. It's complementing in a very subtle way the sweetness, the whiskey. Anyways, top notes: whiskey, leather, and bergamot. I pretty much get all of that. I really get all of that. You kind of have this slight boozy, like Bentley Intense for Men, like maybe 10% of that level of sweetness. Not shaving creamy though. More whiskey, bourbon, cognac-y type vibes. The leather is there. In the middle, though, we have a note of tiramisu, rose, violet, patchouli leaf, and magnolia. And I'm not going to break down these notes individually, but one thing I can say is the florals add this kind of contrast where it seems to want to go gourmand, but it can't because of the freshness of the florals, dialing down this pungency of whiskey, leather, oud, and tiramisu. So I love that counterbalance. This is a fragrance where for florals, you don't quite smell the distinctness of the florals. It's more adding to the composition of freshness. I think rose certainly comes through. There's the tiniest reminiscence of Oud Satin Mood. Like if Oud Satin Mood was a 10 out of 10 in terms of rose oud, this would be like maybe downscale about 40% of what that is in terms of being reminiscent of it. Where it takes the turn, though, is the tiramisu, the whiskey, the type of oud, the leather, the bergamot. That's where it kind of takes a shift and becomes something else. Then in the base, we have very usual suspects: vanilla, amberwood, sandalwood, oak moss, and cedar. I don't get too much of the oak moss cedar. I don't get too much patchouli. I don't get the distinctness of the florals, though I do get this florally, bright, airy crispness to the fragrance. The note profile is predominantly this amber, vanilla, tiramisu, rose, whiskey, leather, oud. Okay? I know that's still a bomb to consider, but I think it puts you in the wheelhouse of what you're getting here. You're getting dark, rich, almost coffee vibes, whiskey, pungency of sweetness, powderiness, mysterious oud, but clean and fresh still for the most part, just slightly animalic, maybe in combination with the leather. Perfectly unisex. Again, I think this is a fragrance where when a woman's wearing it, you'll say, oh, this leans feminine. But then on a man, you can definitely see it leaning masculine. I think if Oud Satin Mood on a man can feel masculine, this without question can feel masculine, because in terms of sweetness and powder, this is 50% less, or 40% of what Oud Satin Mood feels like in terms of sweet, rosy powder. But there's just a lot of, despite me seeing the note profile and being able to see distinct notes like vanilla, amber, tiramisu, rose, whiskey, leather, oud, the blend is very smooth. Smooth sweetness, smooth powderiness, smooth mystery, smooth woods, smooth leather. And I just really like it. Usual suspect information for you guys. I'm not sure the price of this. I'm going to look it up right now. Let's see, like a Joma shop, for instance. It's a Mancera fragrance, so it's probably going to be hitting close to $100. Looks like retail is about $145 to $180. The deals on discounters seem to be around the $80 price point. Let's see if fragrancebuy.ca has it for cheaper. Mancera Precious Oud. Yeah, so the lowest I'm seeing it is 65, retailing at about 150 to 180. This is a wonderful fragrance, guys. Again, for a man's man, this is going to be that Oud Satin Mood bag that you go into where you're trying to lean slightly sweet, but you want the mystery, you want the masculinity still there, but you want to be, I don't know if the sweetness of this is making the fragrance playful because of the oud. Instead of, normally when sweetness comes into a very masculine fragrance, it adds some playful contrast. With this fragrance, the sweetness is seductive, inviting, cozy, sensual. Because of the oud and the whiskey kind of upscales this booze. This is not a playful offshoot. It's a seductive offshoot. Masculine, sensual fragrances. This screams date night. I think for age, because of the pungency and because of the note profile, this is a 25 and up fragrance. I hesitate and sometimes think I might say 30 and up maybe. But I think 25 could certainly start getting some chest hair and wearing a fragrance like this if you look the part. This fragrance sits somewhere between semi-formal and formal. It's not a casual date night fragrance, but it absolutely is a fragrance when you're going to want the opposite sex around you and the wafts are kind of counterplaying. This is a fragrance where if you're wearing it as a man and somebody walked by you, they don't really know who's rocking it, you know, the woman or the guy. But it's extremely seductive and extremely cozy. Your woman is going to want to be near to you, you know, getting those wafts as much as humanly possible. I think in terms of longevity, you're probably going to get 8 hours minimum out of a fragrance like this with about 5 to 6 sprays. It doesn't seem beast mode, but it seems on the scale about a slightly above average performer, 7 or 8 out of 10 in terms of beast mode. It is very pungent. Scent trail, sillage. This to me screams date night fragrance, but I think you can dress it up for various semi-formal occasions. You know, date night primarily, though. This is the seductive killer, in my opinion. Sprays, I think bare minimum is going to be like 5. And then from there, if you want to carry it through an entire day, you might have to go 6 to 8. This is a fragrance where if I go 6 to 8 sprays, let me tell you guys something. A lot of you guys judge fragrances in terms of performance by what it smells like right when you put it on. This is a fragrance where if you put 6 to 8 sprays on, you're going to be just enamored with the pungency of this fragrance, similar to like Oud Satin Mood. But if you just go outside or you walk around, let that thing dry down for 5-10 minutes and it'll settle, it'll aerate, and that will be what you can interpret the fragrance as in terms of projection and longevity. And we don't even really know what the lasting power is of the projection. But I think this will project very well, sit on clothes very well, and you'll get a ton of performance out of a fragrance like this. Smells absolutely quality. Again, I think that this is primarily a date night fragrance with a slight caveat of just other semi-formal events. Super formal, if it's serious, I think it's a little too much because it's very sweet. It's not insanely sweet, but it's not light either. It's very much there. But this is a great fragrance, like just to have next to a Oud Satin Mood or like a Tuxedo or a Grand Soir or an Angel Share. This is a beautiful, unique addition to that catalog that gives you a little something else. This, I feel, has more oud than Oud Satin Mood, which leans predominantly on this just powdery sweet rose. And for that, you also get some elements of Angel Share in there, not necessarily cognac and praline, but it's in the wheelhouse, guys. Whiskey. You know, it's kind of got this bourbon oak vibe to it. Very woody fragrance. Yeah, we talked about pretty much everything with this fragrance. I would highly recommend it. It has allure and draw. It's got signature. It's got performance. I would call this fragrance definitely above average. I might give this an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I think in the perfect scenario, it could be a 9 out of 10 beautiful signature fragrance. And the only reason I don't go 10 is because I don't feel like it leans heavily masculine. So for a man signature fragrance, it's a little more circumstantial. 10 out of 10 fragrances to me, you can have a 10 out of 10 fragrance that's highly circumstantial, but to me, I like a versatile fragrance that I'd give a 10 out of 10. So it's just a preference thing, but it's got the signature performance. It's somewhat versatile in its category, but it is for a very specific type of scenario. So versatility, you're not going to have a lot of wear and tear. Again, weather, I think you could find excuses for any season, any reason, as long as you stay indoors or an aerated space, but this seems like a fall-winter fragrance. This isn't quite gourmand. It isn't quite holiday spice, but it's going that way. I think the whiskey and the florals dial it back to be a little bit more versatile, but and out of the gourmand category entirely. But again, think Angel Share in terms of like the lean that it's going into the spicy holiday vanillic spicy realm. This is a great fragrance though. Again, 8 or 9 out of 10. I think you guys would definitely want to put your nose to this. This isn't blind buy worthy, though. Especially being a Mancera fragrance, we're not talking about a clone. You definitely want to put your nose to this and see if it fits your personality type. But thank you guys so much for rocking with me. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. But more importantly, turn on your notifications so that you can see all of the various ways that you can be put on game to new fragrances, the new content that we're doing, and all of the various types of content that we're doing. As well as our game show, Wheel of Fragrance. I've been seeing some views and a lot of people interacting and saying it's a great content to jump into for the fragrance space. It adds a lot of entertainment value, but YouTube's not showing me a ton of love spreading it around. And I think that's just because it's super long form content, anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. It's the type of podcasty content that you ride in your car to or you work out to. But nonetheless, you guys got to help me out here. If you watched it, please make sure you like it and tell YouTube to keep pressing it, because it's entertainment. It's beautiful entertainment. You get put onto new fragrances, and it just adds this less dry take on fragrance. It's very fun and entertaining. You get more personality, you get more use case, and you guys can play along. So definitely tap into that. Again, I am your host. This is the Scent Bubble. Have a blessed week, and until next time, peace.